everybody. This is Rob Turley, the host at Down Rabbit Hole Podcast, co-founder, co-CEO at White Rabbit Intel. And right here, I have a special guest with me, Jamie Martin. He's a fantastic guy. He's all about social selling. He lived in that corporate world of sales for the longest time. And he's someone who believes in the same type of sales process and efficiency ideologies as I do, in the sense where sales is not a numbers game, it's a relationships game, which is very exciting to me, and how quotas should pretty much fall off the face of this earth. So I'm very happy to have him here because this is going to be a very fun conversation. Jamie, please introduce yourself.
Well, Rob, thanks for having me on the podcast show with you. I know your podcast is doing fantastic, so delighted to be here and provide value to the listeners. And yes, so you basically said it. I'm Correct Careers Coaching is my business. I founded this about 1.5 years ago after 10 years of corporate business-to-business selling. My business is a modern sales training and strategy company. So not only will I teach people how to sell better and improve their gross sales and revenue, and I would teach the full sales cycles, predominantly business to business. And I specialize within business services, professional services, HR consultancy type of industry sectors. But I would also teach them modern sales, and I call modern sales social selling, using social media marketing, digital marketing channels. So a range of different areas that now more than ever in a digital world, in a modern world, especially post-pandemic, businesses need to be utilizing to basically communicate, connect, build rapport, understand different personalities, and thrive within a very noisy environment. So myself, 10 years business to business sales. I've won 3 awards since setting up my own company. I've trained over 28 different industry sectors in some shape or form, 0 to 78 million turnover. So I've had some really good experience with all levels of business, loads of different industry sectors. And yeah, I just really am passionate about what I do. I've had a very successful career in sales, so I just want to give back to others and let them enjoy it, and also achieve success and rewards as I have done. So,
ladies and gentlemen, right there, that is confidence. That is confidence right there. Well, coming from a corporate background, you lived into in the dredges of just numbers for sales. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a glimpse of what I had to put up with, or what I went through on a day-to-day basis in my 10 years background. So I actually did 2.5 years approximately of telemarketing, and it was for a mobile phone campaign. So if you can sell mobile phones, you can basically sell anything. And
I was just about to say the same thing. You can sell it. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure people would disagree if they haven't come from a mobile phone telecommunications background, and they can still sell. But it is a very hard sell because you're contacting busy people. Do you want to change your mobile phone provider? We get those calls all the time. So to do that, we were targeted on so many leads a week to make sure we achieved our quota, and that so many of them would convert it into a sale. And that was the start, really. I think if anyone really wants a successful career in sales, doing some sort of telemarketing as a grounded part of selling would be very useful, because you're not actually converting the full sale like an outbound sales professional would do. You are just basically, converting the information to be qualified for the person to convert the sale. And that's actually quite frustrating in some area, because you do all kind of the legwork, you build relationships, you set your follow up and your time frames to continue with a prospect, and then you don't actually get to the fun part of selling.
You just get cut out of the deal. That's why full cycle sales, I think, are personally the best. And how is someone supposed to learn how to close a deal if they were only ever openers? What is that doing for their career? It's not actually the person, and that's taking the people side out of it. It's also a number. Okay, how many people can we actually engage? Pass that on. Now, how many people can we close? But you actually lose 10% of the warmth that you've given that customer the second you pass them off. Every time you pass them off, it's 10% less of a probability of closing. So why are we passing?
Yeah, well, why do you think that is the rate of losing customer during the buying journey? Why do you think that, Rob?
Well, I mean, it makes you feel like you're not important. You're just something that's getting passed around, like a joint at a college party. It's something that nobody cares about, that they're just passing around and just trying to have a good time with because they're trying to get some sort of benefit out of it. But guess what? That joint is burning. So it is dying, and it's getting passed around. People are enjoying passing it around, but it's also it's losing length. It's burning away. So that's the same type of concept, whether it's a joint cigarette, whatever you want to call it. It's really the exact same thing, and you're burning the time and you're burning the value from the relationship that's being built. And also that original POC is really important. People always drop the original POC. The SDR is the POC. They should be there for the full cycle, even if you have closers, which is great because tag teaming sales is fantastic and it's proven to work really, really well, especially if you have solutions architects or whoever else. But it's about having that original POC to maintain that relationship, and that's lost.
Yeah, I quite agree. I mean, there's the renowned sales term, know, like, and trust. And you kind of put a lot of energy, when you're talking about buying something, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's a rally car, as I know you like, Rob, it's really like, using your emotions and your energy to think about, right, I'm going to part with money. I need to buy this for X, Y, and Z reason. Is it going to add me value? Is it going to save me time? Is it the quality? Whatever it may be. But if we're talking about a mobile phone, so you're sort of committing yourself to buying. You build a relationship with the person who's selling it, and you're starting to build a trust with that person. You're starting to get to know them and like them, and that's really going to help you during the buying journey. And then if you think at the point where you're nearly there, say you're 60% on the way to buying something, and then you're being passed to someone else, you kind of lose a bit of faith inside yourself to think like, right, okay, so I now need to get to know someone else. Are they saying the same thing? Probably not, because everyone learns information differently. Everyone communicates differently. So it's really kind of using a lot of your energy, I think. And especially for maybe if we talk about personalities, like an introvert, they will suck up energy, in certain social situations. So I think it's really important, like you said, if to be successful in sales, a full sales cycle role would absolutely be, right. But then some organizations, depending on the size or depending on the setup, will have those initial SDRs or their telemarketers, because we're talking about quantity of numbers, where we all know, especially now more than ever, because of the competition, because of the noise out there, it's about qualifying the leads and it's about quality. So after doing the telemarketing role, I then went and did a media sales role. I didn't do it for that long, but I really enjoyed media sales because you could be a bit creative, advertising, marketing. You really got to sell it. You really got to convince people, why they should spend money. What's their ROI? What's their return on investment going to be like? And for example, when I was selling sales and services of plumbers or builders into a newspaper, I would say to them, if you put your advert in this newspaper, it's going to be like the size of a football stadium seeing your business. Now, an analogy like that speaks volumes. So it really does help to, I wouldn't say convince, probably a bit of a strong word, but certainly influence or maybe persuade someone to say, if you're going to buy this advertising space with us, then you are going to get something in return. So I really enjoyed that side of what I did, and I learned a lot in media sales and the advertising and the digital world, because obviously now more than ever, magazines, newspaper, it is going online, and people are reading them more online because we've got our mobile phones, we may be on the train or something like that, and it's just easier to read because it's on our handy to have to hold. And you don't have to go out and buy a newspaper or something like that, so you can just download everything. So I did that, and then I entered the world of recruitment. And I'll see your thoughts on this, Rob. I think have you done a bit of recruitment before?
So only recruitment for my own business. Actually,
Yeah.
well, I was part of the hiring process in other companies, but it wasn't the main recruiter person, if you will. And with what you were saying about like the whole newspaper thing, yeah, I mean, I kind of break that vibe of everybody looks at everything online. I mean, newspapers, I can't stand them. I actually get my news sourced from places that are not based off of political opinions, which is very hard to find and very obscure. But when it comes to magazines, I think I get 5 magazines shipped to me a month, like different magazines. So I'm still like that. Can't stand looking at a magazine online, because the magazine, if it's not in my hand and it's not like, it's like a magazine, you have to hold it. But I also come from a graphic design background, so it's near and dear to my heart with print design. And when you put it on web, it just loses all of that luster and all of the actual tact that it has.
And I would agree with that. And the reason is because, and I do say online a lot because, it is certainly the technology is moving that way. But it depends on your learning style. And we're going to keep going back and forth to this. I know we're big fans of psychology, NLP, neuroscience, whatever it may be. But there's visual learners, there's auditory learners, and there's kinesthetic learners. So if you like to touch things, you will certainly be holding a magazine, and that will be helping you to learn more than just say reading something visually. And that's why video marketing is absolutely huge right now, and podcasts.
Oh, it's so important because you can hear it, you can see it, and you can experience it all at the same time. So you could view it, hear it, see it, or if it has subtitles, you can read it. Like if you watch a movie with subtitles on, you'll actually absorb far more of the movie. You'll remember about 8 to 12% more of the movie.
Absolutely. And when VR comes out, I'm sure that's really going to help in this digital world now.
To experience the movie. How crazy would a movie be in VR? That's nuts.
Yeah, well, we're getting there. We're certainly getting there. I believe on some of the consoles, you can put a headset on and you can kind of experience what's going on around you. So back to quantity and quality. Being in the recruitment world, some people might say recruitment is probably one of the hardest sales roles out there. I don't know your thoughts on that, Rob.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree because finding the right people to hire, I mean, there's a lot of crap out there. And I mean, there's crap people, but it's just people can say they are whoever they are. They could say they have whatever experience they have. They can lie on there. And then also you never really know who somebody is until you work with them. The culture fit is the hardest part. So understanding if they're going to work well with the team or actually be able to collaborate with them properly is the hardest part. Because that's some of the biggest issues that I've had in my career is when people are new, them adapting properly to the culture or if they're a good fit, because you don't know it really until they're in there. There's a lot of different methods that you could take to try to figure that out psychologically, psychological testing and all that good stuff, because technology is getting better with it. But ultimately, it's really, really hard to tell. And if someone's trustworthy or not, how do you tell if someone's trustworthy or not? You don't really know. But you can find things such as, reliability. Okay, so you go to hire somebody. And then you say, okay, when are you going to get that to me by? Because something is due. You need to have them send you something or some sort of response or anything. It doesn't matter what it is really. But they say, oh, I'll get it to you by X time on Y date. Okay. If they're late with it, immediately eliminate them. They're going to be late to everything. That means they didn't care. Or if they're a day late or if they don't show up, that means they didn't give a shit about the job in the first place. Get rid of them. You don't want anything to do with it, no matter how good they are. They're garbage. The next thing is if they're on time, that's great. If they're early, even better. If they're too early, that means they don't make decisions and think.
So you've analysed the person quite in depthly there, just by some of their behaviours, some of the way they perceive themselves to you, and you're right, because it's literally like a 5 to second attention span humans has. So your first impressions are absolutely vital. I believe humans have a 1 second attention span, less than a goldfish, which is 8 seconds. I'm sure there's controversial topics on that online, but it is true. We will make a big impression on someone straight away. And that's why as a recruiter, it's a very challenging role, because we will screen the candidates. We will then send that to the company and they have to trust us fully to say, right, you've put, say, 3 or 6 CVs in front of me. Are they going to be right for my role? And you are the intermediary at that point. But there can be a lot of discrepancies because you may perceive someone to be great for this role, but do you know that real culture within the business? So recruitment is all about rapport. It's all about building relationships. And really, you kind of want to move a recruitment role into like an account manager role. And, one of my successful accounts, I placed 5, 6 of their sales team, because after placing 1 or 2, I really got to know the type of character, the personality, the experience they're looking for. Or it's more about mindset, to be honest. For most business.
And how do you take the time to measure mindset? Because that's a huge thing for me too, and that's a huge thing for what it should be for everybody. How do you measure some of that?
Well, I mean, yeah, in recruitment, that we did have accessibility to psychometrics and stuff like that. But to be honest, I actually think it's generally communicating and getting to know someone, asking them open questions. So what's your aspiration? What's your goals? Why did you leave your last place? And if it was something along the lines of, oh, there was no career progression for me, then you can really kind of engage and understand what that person is like. Okay, so they may be a driven person. They may be an ambitious person. So I need to place them into a company which offers that type of succession planning, or maybe they may get bored with just day-to-day tasks. They need excitement, they need innovation. So it might be in maybe some type of businesses which allow them to be able to perform in those ways. So that's how mindset is. I wouldn't say it's a loose term, but it is one of those traits or characteristics where you're really trying to say what is mindset, and everyone's perception of mindset is going to be different.
Yeah, a lot of it's self-image. They have to have a good image of themselves. If they put themselves down, or if they talk against themselves, like one of my least favorite questions when it comes to hiring, so many people do it, or what are your greatest weaknesses?
Yeah.
I just want to, if someone's interviewing me and they ask me that, I want to smack them. Be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. What are your greatest weaknesses? How about that? We can try to fix those. It's not about weaknesses, because you should be working on your strengths. Your weaknesses are not where you're going to be working. What does it matter what your weaknesses are, unless it's going to directly affect the job? Then you're probably not a very good candidate, and you'd be able to tell by the other questions that you ask if you ask them properly. And one thing, throw people like a curveball. This is something that Marcus Kauke taught me. When it comes to hiring, it's actually fantastic. It's great for sales. It's great for front of the house type of stuff. And actually, it's good for back of the house type of stuff too. Really, it's kind of all around. But if you want to throw someone a curveball and you want to see if they're either reactive or responsive, this is what you do. Reactive is bad. That means they don't think, they just decide. And they act on something because it's a problem, or they may just shut down. So you'll see if they flip out, if they shut down, or you'll see if they actually try to recover, or if they try to help themselves or help you help them. So you say, okay, well, if I were to tell you that you didn't get the job right now, what would you say? And then just sit there in silence. If they think and then they respond correctly, it's like, well, why would you ask that? And then there's ways to work through that. And if they work through it properly, they're good problem solvers and they're responding, they're thinking it through, versus reacting, saying, oh, well, no, you can't say that. I'm great. You're like, that's a bad sign. Or if they go, oh, no, you're right. I guess I guess I'm not fit for this job. That means that they have no self-confidence. They have no good self-image, and they feel like they're not qualified to do the job. That is a great one. And it's not, you're not attacking them in any way. You're just throwing them off, because you're not telling them you're not getting the job. You're just asking them, what if that happened?
And I think, it's definitely some great psychology there.
But usually what ifs are terrible during the hiring process. That's the only what if that is acceptable.
And it's because you're asking a hypothetical question, and that's because it's asking about people's emotions. So immediately, if you're asked, okay, so what if you don't get this job? People are thinking probably 10 steps ahead of themselves. Oh, if I don't get this job, I'm gonna have to go and find another job. This recruitment process has taken a long time. What about financial reasons or security reasons? So that's why it puts those implants in people's minds to say, like, okay, they're going to react in that sort of way. And you are right, it's going to demonstrate their mindset and their characteristics depending on how they answer these tough questions. But in a real life situation and day-to-day tasks, we're always challenged, we're always pushed to perform our best, especially in sales roles,
and especially in high stress.
And those sorts of high level pressure situations, whether adhering to KPIs, targets, it can be very stressful. And back to like recruitment, what I did. So I did 6 years in basically a corporate company, a UK renowned business, and a global recruitment agency. During my time there, I had no recruitment experience before. I started on 2 cold desks. I was promoted 5 times, won awards, set up my own sales team and branch, placing C-level individuals, international recruitment. I've had a lot of achievements, and I talk about it when I speak. And the reason why I say that is because it was hard. I had my war wounds. There were some challenging times during that, it wasn't always fantastic. It was really hard work. And my mindset was my why, like the famous Simon Sinek says, start with your why, or Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is, my why was based on achievements. Of course, I like money, and recruitment can be very fruititious in financial rewards, but
money is just the result. That's it.
Yeah,
it's just the result of any type of success.
Yeah, it is. And so you've got to really find what your driver is, what your motivation. And my why was definitely achievements. And I would work 60, 70 hours a week, not because I was forced to, but because I wanted to achieve. I wanted to show others it can be done, or prove to myself I can do it and I can be done. And that was my driver. So you've got to look at it from a mindset perspective when you are recruiting and being in a sales role as well. So in my time in recruitment, not only was I challenging myself, and it was a challenging time with, because we had our targets, and even when I was, making a lot of money, it was still, top down approach was like, okay, so have you hit these numbers each week? And you sort of feel like okay, so can I do it in a different way? But there's a corporate feel to it to say, well, this is the predecessor way we've always done it, uh, and especially during times of change like Brexit in the UK, recessions, obviously the pandemic right now. Should we be adhering to those sorts of targets? And then when I was actually in my role in recruitment, I was placing finance and accountants, and then I also moved on to placing sales professionals. I was actually placing quite a lot of sales professionals doing field sales roles, and some of the emotional reasons why they were leaving businesses was because they're covering vast amounts of territory. Their well-being could be affected because of the stress, because of the pressure, because of the time spent on work and not on their selves, because of the quantity they had to put into the task. Because some businesses would believe that the amount of the volume of numbers you put out there, the amount of qualification in revenue and leads they would get. But what if businesses flipped it on its side and focused on, okay, so why don't we think about our ICP, our ideal customer profile? Why don't we spend time at the very beginning stages of a sales process, investing in technology, investing in AI and personality? I know what White Rabbit offers, and there's some other good websites out there as well. Getting to know your prospect, and then that's really going to help you during the customer buying journey. It's going to help the initial SDR or the business development in sales professional, and it's going to really save time and energy and money to help individuals be successful in a sales role. So talk about
That's literally what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Is cutting out the numbers, cutting out the time, cutting out the nonsense, because we've been automating the doing for too long. We should be automating the knowing. The doing is done by humans because humans do business with humans and humans hire humans. So the knowing can be done on the other side because humans are inherently terrible with data and numbers.
And there's a famous quote that just comes to mind by Tony Robbins. So when people are like each other, they tend to like each other. And I really really feel that speaks volumes. Because you are gonna, if you want to buy something, you want to understand who that person is. You want to trust them. You want to know what they're saying is actually true and not garbage. They're not just a salesperson, because you really want to build that rapport. And when I go and teach sales, I'm thinking about this isn't just about the sale and the initial revenue. It's about building a long-lasting relationship, because it's harder to win new business. But once you have one new business, think about client retention. Think about nurturing that relationship and long-lasting rapport, because then you're going to continue the client coming back to you. And if you do a good job, and sometimes you might need to do some cost-effective introduction or offers to start with, because it shows that you are willing, that you are trust in yourself, your product or service, and that you want to build that relationship with that prospect.
And you're also delivering the best while you're doing that. And you're making them feel cared for. It's that buyer's journey thing. Is that how would you feel if someone just ditched you after they sold to you and they just, oh yeah, no, this is not my problem anymore. It's not great. It's not great. The sale is not done until the relationship is over. The sale is never done because it is always more profitable to maintain, to upsell, and to cross-sell. Always.
So that is an absolutely, really strong point of discussion, is that, businesses, some businesses, are they focused on new business most of the time? We're talking 80-90% of the time, rather than nurturing their current accounts. And, sometimes I would hear that from sales professionals I used to recruit. What's your thoughts on that, Rob?
I think it depends on what you're selling. If it's highly transactional, I could see why new accounts would make sense. But if it's something where it really is truly a B2B solution, or if it's services based, you're going to want to focus on your current customers because they're going to bring in customers for you. Those referrals mean a lot more than any cold outreach ever would be. But then reaching out to people is also important. It's just that we suck at targeting it. That's why my company does what it does. It's why we perfected targeting. We perfected prospecting with artificial intelligence. It's why it exists, to actually improve that, because it lacks so much. But then again, even if you only do business referrals, great. Okay, wait, no one's spending money in my market right now. Well, no, nobody's spending money in your network right now. So you need to reach out to new people, not in the purpose to sell, but in the purpose to provide value and in the purpose to consult and help, where you're building these relationships. Because how do you get more referral partners? Well, you need to talk to new people. They don't always have to be referrals. You could just reach out to new people and then just try to set up referral agreements with them and just try to create relationships that will turn into something, because they may do business with you, great, or they will refer you to people that would be a good fit, because chances are they know someone in their network that needs what you have. And chances are, if you're talking to people that you like, people do business with people they like, trust, and can relate to. I say this a million times a day to everybody. And it doesn't matter if they do business with you or not. If it was a good networking opportunity, you create a relationship, they will refer people to you. Referrals are 4.5 times as likely to close when they're referred to you and they are in demand of the product. They spend an average of 3.5 times the amount of revenue with you, and they are 4 times as likely to refer new people to you. So why would you not go based off of just building relationships with cold outreach? People are too focused on the sell. They're too focused on, okay, how many new deals can we create? It's not about that. It's about the relationships that are built. It's about talking to all those people and maintaining those relationships, which will lead to those closing numbers. It's not about how many meetings. It's not about, people are measuring the wrong things. How many meetings have we set? How many leads have we contacted? That has nothing to do with it. It's how many meetings have we set that move to next steps? That's what should be measured. It's the actionable items, the things that are crossing over, moving to the next steps. It's not, oh, the meeting was set. Fantastic. Anybody can set a freaking meeting. It's easy. If people say, oh, setting meetings is the hardest part of sales, that means, sorry to tell you, buddy, but you have no idea how to sell. You have no idea how to sell. You probably should not be a salesperson. You should change. You should probably be a marketing person, or I don't even know what, a cashier. But that's the thing. You learn more about selling being a cashier or a bartender than you ever would trying to sell like that. And that's part of the problem, is that it's turned so much into a numbers game based off of people trying to contact the most people possible. But guess what? Throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold has never helped anybody. It's really hard. Some people have perfected it, but only that person perfected it. And there's no data behind. They don't know why they're successful. They just, oh, I'm just really good at selling. There's no way to actually quantify it. There is data behind that. And trying to figure out what that actually means is like the most important part. It's overlooked. And sure, it's a numbers game from a mathematical perspective from data, but it's not a numbers game from the outreach and from the human intervention.
And I think the best analogy I could probably give for that, which I do in my workshops when I do sales training, is that it's like some sales professionals are a racehorse with their blinkers on. They're only focused on the line. And that really is, for most of them, getting that money in their bank, to be honest, whereas if you open up, the conversations, who else is it internally within the department? Who are the other decision makers? Understanding the sales process right from the beginning, from an actual, business perspective. So looking at, what type of touch points are we doing with a prospect? What's our cadence like? So our sequence of actions. Where have most of our customers come from, i.e. referrals? Absolutely. The reason why referrals are so successful is because that person who has referred you to someone else is actually putting their trust in you and probably their customer, or it could be their customer's customer. So
they're putting their own reputation on the line.
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. And what you were saying before, it's the bigger picture. It's that people fail to see the forest through the trees. That's the saying. They cannot see the forest through the trees. It's a whole forest, but all they see is a bunch of trees, and they're focused on the trees. That's it. They're just laser focused. They don't see all the grass, all the animals, all the dirt, all the roots. They're not seeing the whole forest through the trees. But that's how humans have evolved over thousands of years. Is that they need to focus because we were hunters, we were gatherers. That's why we need to focus. We need to focus. We adapt over 10,000 of years to make it just like that, and that's why we're not good at seeing the big picture.
So the piece of value and advice we could probably get at the end of this topic is really, go back, look at your sales process right from the beginning, focus on time and efforts into making it quality, and making it, about personality, making it about getting to know your prospect and your ideal customer profile, using such things as, AI, which White Rabbit does. There's other personality and technology out there, and really getting to know your prospect, because in a noisy world, when we're getting a lot of emails
and getting to know your salespeople, that too, getting to know them, doing, psychological evaluations on your salespeople to understand where they should be.
Yeah, because you can then match to certain types of prospects, certain types of maybe industry sectors once you get to know them.
Team building.
And yeah,
team building.
And well, the most important person, really in the world is yourself. So, if you want to become a successful sales professional, then your managers, your leaders of the business, they should understand you. They should know how to motivate you, what drives you, how to reward you. And that was done quite well with me, actually, in my background in sales, which is probably why I did quite well. So you've really got to look at various elements to actually say, okay, let's have a shift in business now. Let's not, put pressure on getting X amount of new leads or new meetings or new calls each week. Let's focus on bringing it back in, reining it back in, and focus on the quality of our time.
It's behavioral based goals instead of numeric goals, because that's what people do. It's all behavior based, and it's all action that they take and the things that they try to do to improve. So if you're not trying to drive behavioral goals, that's an issue. That's another thing that Marcus Kauke taught me, is that it should be behavior goals for sales. Ever since we started doing that, it has been a whole world of difference, because it's not about the numbers, because humans can't control numbers. The numbers are not even a real thing. They're not physical. They don't even exist within a dimension. We invented them. It's a thing that we just made up. So it's sure you can quantify things, but at the same time, it really is about the experiential, because it's an experiential profession.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a term called science-based selling, which it actually looks at behavioral and other areas of the customer. So what's the customer experiencing during the buying journey? And if you can really get that data and analyze that, you can then, feed that into your sales professionals, and it's certainly going to help the full sales cycle be completed a lot easier and sooner, and more revenue will be generated for the business.
Yeah. I mean, the more someone likes you, the more likely they are to trust you, and the more likely they are to spend more money with you, because that trust is what allows them, it enables them to actually put the spend in. They want to spend money on you because they believe in you. So what Roderick Jefferson, who I had on recently, he's the sales enablement guru. He's the guy who invented the term. Fantastic guy, love him. Is he was talking about that type of thing when you were saying with rewarding people and then the buyer's journey. So it's integrating what the salespeople get out of it. Meanwhile, about with the buyer's journey and trying to assimilate those things, if you take action and you succeed with a specific type of behavior where it moved a deal forward, or there was an ideal outcome that came from it, what do they get in return from that? Or what can they do to improve that process? So those two things are tied in together. And one of the biggest failure points of this is being able to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. So the what's in it for me, it's not what's in it for me. Yeah, sure. I'm the most important person in the world is what everybody thinks. And I always trick people with this. If we're in a business situation right now and I were to ask you, whose ideas are the best ideas? If I ran up to you on the street, you wouldn't say it out loud to be polite, but my ideas, of course, that's what people think. Instantly, my ideas are the best ideas. That's what everybody says. So if their idea is the best idea, you need to get inside their head and make it their idea. And it needs to be their idea to do so. So it's not about selling. It's not about the numbers that you're trying to hit. It's about their experience. How we lead to that experience is by putting ourselves in their shoes, understanding their industry, and then understanding how they would want to be sold to by being in their shoes. Okay, you're selling to yourself right now. Pretend I'm you. So I'm you, Jamie. And right now I'm speaking to you. You're still Jamie, but then now I'm also Jamie. How am I supposed to actually speak to you in a way where it will resonate with me from your perspective? And that's one of the hardest things to do in sales. But that is the thing that we fail to train for the longest time. Often it's because we don't have the tools to do it. AI is great for that. So are other technologies, fantastic for it. But that's the thing I think is the biggest lack in the sales industry, is being able to put yourself into the buyer's shoes and then making it behavioral-based reward system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've written an article recently. I posted it on LinkedIn. So, do check it out if anyone's interested in about different decision makers' personalities. And I linked them to the animal kingdom, which I thought was.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So if you want it, I'll give you the link afterwards, put it in the show notes, or just if people can go on my LinkedIn. It's just Jamie Martin, BSc, and you can just look at my recent articles. But it basically,
the video producer pop it up on the screen too when you're talking about it.
But it basically talks about how, if you are selling, especially like a high value transactional role, depending on the product or whatever it may be, to corporate companies, they're going to have different decision makers within the business, and different decision makers are going to want different things during that buying process. And it might be maybe an end user, it might be someone might start the initial conversation, it might be that the person who writes the check, whatever it may be, and they're all going to be behaving differently, and they're all going to be perceiving information and communicating differently. So it's not the challenge of a sales professional right now is not only Do they have to convince more than one person to buy something from them? They have to understand that everyone is communicating and thinking differently. So they have to be very adaptable, whether they use mirroring or understanding people's body language very well, or just
Mirroring is great. Mm-hmm.
one of my sayings is that personalities will thrive. And the reason why I say that is because, well, first of all, I think you should be yourself anyway, because not everyone's going to like you, but there will be people who do like you.
That's the way of the world, man. You should always be yourself. When I first started selling, I was trying to be all professional and I was awful. And as soon as I gave up and I just was crazy old Rob and was, dropping F-bombs everywhere and just saying whatever the hell, the way that I say it normally, that's when I started succeeding. Fantastic success after that point.
Well, because it shows authenticity, and I think
right.
that builds trust, but also passion as well. I talk quickly, and some people can see that as a nervous trait, but really it's just because I'm just full of energy all the time.
I am the same way. Hello.
And I just love what I do, and I want to share, and I want to, sometimes, speak and give my experiences back. But to the point, so you're understanding, different personalities, and you I think it's just alluding your personalities them to say, like, this is what I am, this is what I believe in, and this is why I'm basically here with you in a meeting or a video conference, whatever it may be now. But you've really got to understand that actually even post that, because we'll get some people, even at the very beginning of a sales pitch, do they ask who the final decision maker is? So they're wasting all that energy and time talking to someone, and it might not even be them. They would be diluting the information onto another decision maker. So my advice is to ask that question at the very beginning, and some people forget to ask.
You can champion them, and if you give them enough confidence in your product where they're going to deliver it, you can always offer to be there with them, because be like, listen, I can help you with this. So, I can help you project this to your boss. Also, I'll take the blame. So protecting them is the biggest thing. So, if the boss doesn't like it, guess what? Oh no, it was this dummy's fault. Like, the salesperson could take the blame for it because they don't care if they get a no or if they get yelled at. So it's protecting them to ensure that their asset, the champion, is perfectly safe through the process, and it gives them that confidence to actually drive it.
Good point. So what I will say is about personalities and using AI and understanding not only your own characteristics and traits, but others as well. What could you do with that information if you had it available? So how would you change your behavior? We talked about mirroring, but honest question here. Do you think if sales professionals were given this data, this is what your prospects like, this is their dislikes, this is how they communicate, whether they may be an auditory, they like to go and think about information, whatever it may be. Do you feel sales professionals will change their behavior to communicate with a certain type of prospect?
I absolutely do believe so. And with our own technology, I've seen this happen with the people that we work with, even with ourselves. For example, a lot of people we do business with, we found out that they're really into political policies. They're into human rights, economic empowerment, and things of the sort. They also like memes. They also like motorcycles. There's a lot of correlations there. So they're risk takers because they're early adopters. It makes sense. They also love new technologies. They also love family, and they really like to volunteer. So they're giving, and they come from a walk of life where they believe that money is important to them, and they think that success and growth is important to them. So all of those things, it shows the type of person that we're talking to as a team and who we should be targeting based off of what they believe in and what makes them tick. That is unbelievably powerful and valuable to us, and it is for all of our clients too. And that's something that everybody should know, is that if you don't really know who your clients are, you may say you do, but you often really don't until you can take a look at data like this.
I think you gave me a story before this podcast about one of your clients who completely had to change industry sector and did phenomenally well without even realizing that was their target market of theirs.
45% return in 5 days based off of the money they spent on data processing.
Wow.
Right.
So anyone listening, do you want numbers like that?
Yeah, that's incredible. That's the best we've had so far. Because that's absolutely absurd. That is absurd. And broke every single monthly record that they've had in 5 days when it came to outbound sales and marketing outreach campaign success.
And it does make you wonder. Like, it's funny because you look back and think, like, why wasn't I doing that sooner?
And how much does it cost to do that mass outreach where you're just, it's spray and pray when it's all about numbers? It wasn't about numbers. It was just extremely specific to precisely what they needed to do. They contacted probably 100 times less people than they usually would have. And it was more successful. I mean, if you contact 100 people and you set 10 meetings, great. If you contact 1,000 people and set 10 meetings, what the fuck are you doing? You still have 10 meetings and those people feel less cared for.
Well, there's a couple of terms I'm preaching more aware of nowadays. It's about qualifying who your ideal customer is, but also it's about understanding and being able to unqualify who your customers, because we do keep talking about this sometimes nowadays, that actually we don't want a bad customer, and that really means someone who may give you a headache, who's not going to comply to terms and conditions, or maybe late with payments. So it's actually really looking at both sides of the coin there.
It is, are they a good customer for you? And you can flip that, where if they're saying, no, I'm good, often if they say, no, I don't think this is right for me, you can just disqualify them right in front of them. You say, yeah, you know what? I don't think you'd be ready for a tech like this. I'm not sure if this product would be that great for your company because of the way that you have it structured. And, I don't know if it would fit in your process. So I guess, this may not be the best decision for you. And they go, oh, well, I think it is because I'm good enough to be anyone's. So they start proving themselves to you. You should never prove your product. You should never try to prove yourself. You should never try to proof what you sell because it's damn good and it's damn good. And if you try to prove it, that means you have something to hide, or it means you don't have a confidence level. So proving the product is the worst thing that you could do. They should be, you should flip that. They should be proving to you that they're a good customer for you. And then by disqualifying them, they qualify themselves to want to buy from you, and then you can qualify them based off of what they're saying. You can work with them. They're going to be more open because you're getting them into that space. Like I said, react and respond. They are reacting to the situation, and then you can convert that into an actual response and help walk them through the reaction to calm them and to get them in the place where they need to be to understand where the value is.
I believe we could call that reverse psychology, but
negative.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you start out with negative. This is also one of Marcus's processes. This guy has taught me so much. But you start with the negative, and you say, I don't think this is right for you. I'm not sure if this is a great fit. It's negative, and then they feel bad because they feel like they've been wasting your time. I've had people apologize to me saying, I'm so sorry. I feel like I've wasted your time. And they're the one buying, but then they still convert to a sale. But it's like, no, you're not wasting my time. Of course not. And they're like, oh, no. But this and that. They start making excuses trying to prove themselves to you that they're not wasting your time. So it's negative. And then it's in the reverse. They're selling themselves to you to be your customer. So it's negative, reverse selling. So they reverse it, and then it turns to a positive.
And during those times, I mean, you would actually not only build a bond, but you would actually really get to understand what that behavior, the characteristics, the personality of that particular prospect is actually like. And I think that's quite valuable for future information. And just to give, a top tip to everyone, write this type of information down. Make sure you record it somewhere. Find the detail of information is what builds rapport. Whether it's they've got a birthday coming up or they've got dogs or whatever it may be, really identify small, minute information about a prospect and bring it back up in conversations with them, because that will build continued relationship and rapport with them.
Yeah, right. Except it's kind of annoying actually, because when it comes to the birthday thing, because if you have your birthday public on like Facebook or on LinkedIn, let's say, LinkedIn is a perfect example. Your entire message inbox is just flooded with happy birthday automated messages. I cannot stand it. I've got hundreds of them. I don't know who I'm talking to anymore. The entire thing's all fucked up. I can't stand it. If you're going to say happy birthday to me, okay, an email's okay, but that could still get flooded. But the thing that I really like the most, if you actually take the time to call me and leave a voicemail, or if you get me on the phone and you call me and you tell me happy birthday, don't try to hold me on the phone. Just say happy birthday, this, that, and the other thing, maybe a 5-10 minute phone call. That means more to me than anything else, because you actually gave a shit.
Or a personalized video message would also do the same trick.
Boom. Yeah. That's right. And a personalized video message over any platform at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, that's a fantastic. I'm going to do that now.
Yeah.
That's great.
There we go. Another touch point on selling.
Yeah, right. That's awesome, man. And everybody who's listening out there, definitely give that a try. I think that would be very successful. And remember, top of mind. That means you're at the top of so they remembered your birthday. And also they cared enough to take time out of their day to make that known. and make it personal, right?
Yeah, it's all about personable approaches now, and you are right, because we don't want to, that term spray and pray, it has been used. Are some people copying and pasting the same message? If you really gotta, that's why LinkedIn is a fantastic platform, B2B, known as the number one. I think currently they're on 722 million members.
768 million, man.
Oh, it's increased. So I was looking at that in just ended last year. So huge increase, especially since the pandemic. I know there's over 30 million companies, 87 million millennials are on there, 11% in decision-making positions. So some of this statistics are absolutely fantastic, and we could, explore that further. But with your LinkedIn profile, you've actually got, for some people who have updated their profile and made it an all-star profile, you've really got some really key information in there. Your interests, have you done any voluntary work, charitable work, your education on there, who your influencers are, who your connections are, if you have you won any awards, or you've got certificates on there. And then what you can do is use that information while you're building rapport with someone, and really write a personal message or video message or audio message, whatever it may be. But don't neglect using these resources that we have available to us, because
I would also recommend with that, when you're looking at that stuff, pick out something that people usually, I always say that sales is just like dating. If you walk up to a girl or a guy, whatever your preference is, or a they, and you got your thing going on there, and you are really interested in them, you're not going to walk up to them and say, "Hey, you're so pretty," and then just like, "Oh," and then walk away. That's what that automated crap is. Say, "Hey, you're pretty, bye." Like, that's what that is. You're going to give them a compliment of something truly unique that other people wouldn't notice. So saying something about them where it's not just, "Hey, I saw this award on your profile. Fantastic job." No, get fuck out of here. No, don't talk to me. I'm going to delete your request. It's, I saw that you did this work that led to that reward, and I thought it was impressive because X, Y, and Z. Give the reason why. Like you're saying, always the why. Why? So what? Why? The how's not important. The how's a delta. It's always changing. That's what I always tell people. No matter what, if it's decision-making, if it's building a company, if it's worry about your finances, if it's worry about your life, whatever, the how is always changing. There's no way to predict the how. Just get over it. It's about the what, it's about the why, and it's about the when. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's the what, why, and the when. And so if you can nail down those three things when you're putting a message out there and it's meaningful to them, it actually has to do with something that they do, successes that they've had, something that's near and dear to their heart, something that is a good compliment or something. People love compliments. People love getting attribution and validation, just all validation. If you can validate the person, you're in.
Absolutely. There is a nice opening I usually teach in building new business relationships, and it's called complementary or flattery, maybe is another word. And it's not doing it in a cheesy way. It's literally just saying that I've actually taken the time to research you and your profile, or the company profile, and I want to recognize you for that, but also the reasons why I'm contacting you, because I feel we want to work with you for X, Y, and Z. And to be honest, people do like to be acknowledged. They do like to talk. And then you're going to really get the conversation going, because you've built a rapport straight away at the very beginning. So that is a really good technique for sales professionals who are doing the cold front of the sales process. But obviously later on in the process, when you have got really good rapport with your clients, you become strategic partners. You build long lasting relationships, and you want to celebrate together, and you can then share, tag people in your LinkedIn posts and stuff like that, because you are building your community, you are building your network. And I think, like now more than ever, synergy is my favorite habit from Stephen Covey's, and not that many people say, or I haven't heard that many people say that, but synergy is mine, because I feel now more than ever, collaborations, strategic partnerships, recognizing people, building referral networks, and a lot of people are doing that on LinkedIn. I've seen that the sales professionals and trainers do that, which is great to see. Really getting the network to build relationships with their customers, customers, or it could even be competitors' customers, whatever it may be. But in this type of business environment and selling environment now, we all really need to synergize and support one another.
I could not agree more with that. I could not agree more. That is absolutely true. Another thing when it comes to that whole connecting with people, like you were saying, yeah, flattery is fantastic. Who doesn't love getting a compliment? It makes you feel good. If you make someone feel good when you approach them, it's fantastic. But don't just drop the bomb of a product offering after that. I tell people, my rule is that never, unless it's asked for, give someone a product offering in LinkedIn for the love of God and all that is holy. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm saying that, and I'm Buddhist, for God's sakes. Like, for the love of God and all that is holy, do not use that. And that is, it's just the second someone sends me or a lot of the colleagues that I know and a lot of even my partner, right? If you send me a product offering, you are now completely disqualified. I don't want to talk to you. Unless I asked for it. What do you have to offer? Or like, what are you selling? If you don't ask that question, it's unprovoked, it's unsolicited selling. Well, I guess it's a solicitation, really, but it's unsolicited. It was something that you did not ask for. It's not something you were expecting. You flattered them. You're having a good conversation. You want to meet with them. Then they say, "Oh, we're selling this, 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 and that." So what you're saying is that, okay, so you don't actually matter. I was just trying to flatter you so I can just butter you up and sell you something. It completely throws that entire rapport right into the garbage. And that is the biggest mistake that people make, is the product offering. Unless you have a product that is so freaking mind blowing, which I guarantee you don't. If you do, congratulations, you're like one of 5 things ever. And that's just the thing. In the B2B space, we don't have the type of following where we can just throw out a product offering like in the B2C space where people just worship it. They go, oh my God. But you know how hard they work to be able to create a community around it. Wanted to add to what you were saying about building a network is great. It's something that anybody can do. Building a community, now that's a talent. Building a community is a whole difference. If you have a network and you can build a community, that is more powerful than anything you do, because people are looking up to you as that community leader, and they look at you as a thought leader. They look at you as someone who's up on the high horse that they want to work with, because there's someone that they follow on purpose, not just to follow because you want to connect. They're following you because you are providing value or some sort of thing that really has an emotional connection to that person or that group of people. So if you could build a community, that's the most powerful thing you could do online.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Well, first of all, you could call it followers, tribe, whatever it may be, but identifying who your customers are going to be, who wants to buy from you is initially what you want to do at the very start. But there's so many digital marketing channels which you can use now to build an effective community, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's WhatsApp messages or Slack or something along those lines. You can really engage, you can get people to bond with each other, you can get the questions going, and that's what you really want to build a successful brand. And I think, in some of the lines we were talking about product offering there, you've got people. Why we talk about quality rather than quantity of outbound targets and KPIs, etc., is because we want you to basically focus the time on providing value, providing quality, and it is about building a brand. Because once you've built a brand, I mean, there's successful brands out there. So also many. Even just looking at levels of like Coca-Cola, everybody knows what that is. It's probably in every continent, town in the world, because they spent that time building that brand. Obviously, it's a fantastic drink, but it is about the name, their values, where they are, and everything like that. And there's a lot of startups. I've got a startup event hosting for new startups coming up this week, and there are a lot of startups out there now, and there will be a lot more because of the shift in the business environment, maybe redundancies or people transferring from corporate roles or whatever it may be. So there are going to be a lot of startups out there. We are talking about 21.5%. I read do fair.
Yep, there is a giant boom in startups that become successful whenever there's a large recession.
Yeah. So first of all, you've got to think about, okay, so what do you need to do at the start? How do you build a brand, and how do you build a successful brand? Because you don't want to be one of those that fail. You want to be a long-lasting brand, and you really got to look with the end in mind and the steps you've got to take.
And the brand should be driven by the people. Nobody cares about company brand anymore when it comes to just the company as the brand. It's the people that are branding the company. So the people that have their own brand that create the brand of the company, so it reflects the people that work there. That's what's important.
Absolutely. And being a recruiter, primarily using LinkedIn, I get asked this, for the companies I sales train. So we've got our company page. What should we be very active on our own personal LinkedIn profile? Yes, you should be. People want to know who you are. They want to know who they're talking to. They want to know who the selling person is. And effectively, whether it's you and your own business or whether you're working for a company, you should be posting on LinkedIn or other social channels, depending on where your market is, regularly. And
it doesn't have to be company information either. It's just
it can be personal information.
Show people who you are. And that's the thing, is that it's very old way of thinking, which really isn't going to work anymore when it comes to, oh yeah, I don't like posting stuff on the internet. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't like eating vegetables, says pretty much every child in the world, and yet they still need to eat them if they want to actually live and lead a healthy life. You need to post on the internet if you want to live and lead a healthy life when it comes to sales and when it comes to marketing, when it comes to customer success, when it comes to a business owner, leader in any space, you need to have that so people can see who you are. Privacy is pretty much dead. If you're being private, you're unknown. People don't know who you are, and then it's really hard to actually gain trust because there is no face value. There's no reading the book by its cover because the cover's not there. It's a blank page. Where's the trust going to be built if the book has no cover? I'm not going to pick up a blank book and pay for it. That's insane. And I hope that everybody listening to this can understand that, where it's not just, oh yeah, no, social media is the best thing that's ever happened. I actually personally cannot stand social media. I think it's ridiculous. That ridiculous is the what it is right now. And it depends on how you use it. It's only ridiculous if you use it in ridiculous ways. It's very powerful when you use it in the right ways, and using it the right way is what reflects your personality the best. There is no right way. It's just being real.
Yeah, be honest, be true to yourself, and you know, social media, yes, you're gonna have different opinions on it, but I suppose the unique thing it's going to have, it is stay invisible, but it's got to be done in the right way, because you could post and not everyone's going to see your post on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. But don't worry about it if you don't get so many likes or shares or comments. You know, there will be some people who see it, and there will be value. It is about providing value to your network, and that's what should be your aim in any business capacity.
Yeah, it's very hard to get a lot of likes and comments in LinkedIn. I mean, the average person is going to get maybe like 10 or 15. It's not that big of a deal because it gets a lot of views. People see it, except people aren't very inclined to click like other social medias. So it's not something you should worry about. If you're only getting 5 likes, that's fine. That means 5 people are really a big fan. And the other people who viewed it and took the time to look at it, you don't really know. And then that's the thing. You're starting to build a community. And when you build that community, that's when you start getting more. And it's all just steps to get there, where you may get no likes for the longest time, but you're going to start getting them. Try to adjust your content. Try to learn what other people are posting about and what they care about. And you want to kind of reflect that, but put your own personality in it. So it's not easy. It never was easy. Getting people to like you is one of the most stressful things in the world to a lot of individuals, except if you really truly are being genuine and you're not posting about business stuff all the time. I mean, just like business stuff, things that are valuable to businesses, not about your business. Think about it as dating. Like I said before, if all the person that you're dating does is talk about themselves, you're going to resent them. They're not a good date. You can't stand that person. So if all your company does is have their employees talk about the company and they talk about themselves and their products, no one's going to like you.
And someone wise once said, remember those words from Rob.
yeah, right. But listen, we're almost out of time here. But yeah, the closing remarks on that is that yeah, be yourself, be genuine, post about yourself, be open. The more open you are, the more transparent you are. It's just like any other thing. Digital selling is just like in real life. If you're really closed off, people don't talk to you. That's just a fact, because you're closed off. You look closed off. If you don't have a lot of content on there, whether it's recruiting, it's really hard to recruit people who don't have any digital presence, especially in a digital world like right now. And even just still, they're going to look at your LinkedIn first. If there's nothing on there, they don't know anything about you. So they're like, well, I'm not sure about this guy because he has literally no background and I can't see anything here. So I don't really know if he's done anything or she's done anything or they've done anything. And it's just like, that's the thing. It's just that it's a necessary evil to have people trust you without making face-to-face contact and a personal introduction from somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to agree and just say final thoughts is that embrace social media marketing, and it's something that you're going to develop over time, and you're going to develop your followers, and you can have fun with it. Show, like Rob said, show your personality, and change your content, and watch what others are doing, and build your following, because that is going to help you in a B2B business sense. There's a lot of information online, or work with someone who can help you with that. Or if you enjoy doing it, then keep doing it. Stay visible, stay engaged, and not only that, as well as you being posting, do engage with others. It's really going to help build your network as well.
Right. And look at what influencers do. There's a reason they're an influencer. Learn from them. Look at their profile. Study an influencer's profile. Seriously, you will learn so much. Even though you go, oh, that's not really me. Well, turn it into you. Take a mix and a match, a bunch of influencers that you take a look at, see what you like, see what you don't like. Try to become one yourself and try to actually come off that way. There's a reason they have 10 million followers. There's a reason. And the reason why is because they know how to get people to like them and how to present themselves. So learn how to present yourself from the people who present themselves best. But this is great, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time. I want to thank you for being on the show.
No, that time went so quick, Rob, engulfed in conversation. Thank you for having me on this podcast episode. And yeah, to the listeners, I'm sure you took value away from it. So yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, of course, of course. So everybody, this is Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Rob Turley, co-founder, co-CEO at White Rabbit Intel. And if you'd like to follow, I would love it if you did. You can find me on Podbean, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, literally pretty much every single streaming platform in existence. It's there. And follow or tag hashtag DTRH podcast and hashtag follow the White Rabbit, as well as hashtag sales enablement. So thank you so much for your time. And stay tuned for next week. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Down the Rabbit Hole podcast for new episodes weekly on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. If you'd like to apply to be featured on the podcast or recommend a featured guest, please feel free to email us at theteam@whiterabbitintel.com.